Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton. And today I have a guest for you that has played an incredible role on our journey of my wife and Nikki's. And we are in a club that really nobody wants to be part of, unfortunately, but we are there. And we found a way to hopefully impact other people's lives in a positive way that are going to be in this club or have been in this club at some point. I want to welcome to the call someone who is just an incredible person, Noelle Moore. God, I can't believe I got you on here, Noelle. I'm going to do my best not to cry today. I'm really going to try not to cry. Noelle is the founder of the Finley Project. And the Finley Project is one of the first groups of people that reached out to Nikki and I after we lost our son, CJ. And the grace that they showed us and the way they were able to work with her and help her had a positive impact on our family. And I can't remember if it was the doctor that referred us to you or if it was Gary, our therapist, or one or the other, but just we were able to meet up with, Nikki was able to connect with your group, and it's just been super impactful. So welcome to the show, Noelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, when I was going through my list of guests for this year, I'm like, I really want to connect with Noelle, and Noelle's actually going to do some speaking on my Strength Through Adversity Summit here in June, just to help other people and impact. And I think that you and I have a connection with that part of our lives, that we understand that we need to help other people that are in the same spot we once were in.
Mhm.
And I look forward to kind of digging into that and seeing just where your heart's at now with everything that's going on. My first question for you, Noelle, and this is a question that this is something that happened with me. So I ask everybody this that's been through infant loss or the loss of a child at some point. My relationship with God was really challenging after that. I
Mhm.
mean, it was really like for about 8 months.
Mhm.
I had a really tough time understanding
Mhm.
why or how my God let something like this happen.
Mhm.
Now, my relationship with God is super incredible. It's back to where it was ever before, and He's been great, shown me grace, and just been some. I mean, just there's no doubt the good things in my life have come from my relationship with Him. But I want to how did that impact your relationship? Because I know you're very faith based as well, and I'm curious how that hit for you.
Oh man, when you ask me that, honestly, it brings tears to my eyes because the journey, it's not been pretty like you. I was raised as a Christian and almost like a blind faith, truthfully, and you just believe because you believe. And when Finley died, I just went through this horrific season of this doubt. Like, how could a father, God person who says they love me do this? Essentially take the one thing I always wanted. And um years, truthfully, Chris, years of grappling. It was not overnight. And I really feel I'm in a season to share this part of my story that it's okay to grapple
Yeah,
because God is was very gracious and will be very gracious with those of us that are desiring to understand and want to be close to him. And so I can say after almost 11 years, there was just a moment where literally from the head of top of my head to my feet, I just felt this wash of peace where God was like, I love you, and I'm using this. I allow this to happen to be used by me to help other people. And it was simple. It was a huge shift for me. And so I felt different ever since then.
yeah, I had a similar situation. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting on my back porch about 8 months after CJ had passed, and I journal a lot. I mean, I have
Mhm.
journals everywhere in my office, so they're like some of the things people shouldn't read because I brain dump in there about dislikes and things. So maybe we should keep those out of the interview. But um, I I grabbed a journal and I had all these things I'd written down that I was going to do with CJ, right? Like his first trip, and we're going to go to the baseball games. We're going to do all these things, and I'm reading through this on my back deck, and and that's when it hit me that I need to figure out something good to do next. I
Mhm.
need to try to impact somebody else, to help somebody else. Because I know my CJ would not want me sitting here doing what I know that he would want me to find a place to find strength through adversity, right? To find strength from what has happened. And I've got a tattoo on my arm that says CJ is watching. And I find strength in that all the time. When I'm about to make a bad decision or not be nice to somebody, I honestly look at my arm like because he's watching me more than any of my other kids because I feel he can see me all the time, right? So at that moment, I decided to take my life in a different direction, um, and look into speaking and maybe leading other people through that. So, can you help me with the transformation for you? Like, what did you do? What was your what did you do as a career before this happened, and then how did we get to where we are now?
Sure. Yeah, and I did want to say one thing. I had a few pivotal moments in my spiritual journey, but one of them was early on. I remember just laying on the floor in my kitchen crying. I mean, I'm not that person, and when you hear what I did before, that'll make sense. But I mean, I was done. I had, my husband left, my dad had died, all within a few months of time, and
Yeah.
I just remember God saying to me, "If you're going to believe in seeing Finley again, you need to believe in heaven." And then that meant all the things that came with heaven and
Wow.
all of God's word. And so that was a shift for me to hang in there, like just to hang on. Um, and then there was another moment too where I was still grappling. And I remember looking around and I'm like, this all had to come from somewhere. All of this, the trees, the grass, the sky, like I'm talking going back to the roots of who we are as humans. And I saw it as like a fork in the road. Like, I can either choose to believe in evolution and all that is, or I'm gonna believe in creation. And so those were, like, 2 pivotal moments for me to continue to hang on and to grapple and to work through my faith crisis, as I call it. But, back to your question about what I used to do, I've had big careers, big jobs. I lived in California, I worked for big pharmaceutical companies, I was always kind of, like, leading and pursuing, helping people and, strategy and always like just a big thinker. And since I was probably in middle school, I always knew I was gonna do something with helping women, but I never knew how.
Yeah. I know. What was the timeline on come after what happened with Finley to decide that, hey, I need to create the Finley Project? I mean, like, and I want to dive into that exactly what that is for people that don't know, because it's again has been super impactful for me. And then we can also talk about how that's kind of the evolution of the Finley Project and maybe starting to help dads along the way as well.
Yeah, definitely. When I was in like a sales team on the sales team before, they always talk about finding the gap. Like, where's the gap for our need, right? And so for some reason that was in my head even when Finley died. I just remember thinking, like, when I tried to find help, there was nothing. And I was like, how do women like me navigate this? There were things out there, like let's say there was a support group, but it met like 3 months later. And when you're on the edge of your bed and you can't even put your feet on the ground to then go brush your teeth, I mean, you're talking you need serious help.
Yeah.
Um, and truthfully, there was an organization in town that I called, and it was a grief organization. And I picked up the phone, I got the courage to call them, and I said, "Hey, I heard you have a support group." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we do this Wednesday." And I said, "Perfect. I need to be there." They said, "Well, how old is your child?" I said, "What do you mean, how old is my child?" "Oh, this is a child's grief center. You can attend a support group and your child can attend a support group." And you wanna talk about a dagger in the heart? I once again felt like I didn't fit anywhere. And so that particular organization does great things, but it didn't apply to me. I didn't have other children. And then my only child was no longer here. So that's what started it. Honestly, it was seeing this huge gap between the hospital and the home. Huge.
Yeah, it never crossed our mind of anything like this. You know what I mean? And then you guys filled that gap very rapidly, very
Mhm.
rapidly. I mean, it was, I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was something within a couple days from us leaving the hospital. Nikki wasn't in touch with the Finley Project, and it helped her for sure. I mean, it definitely. Obviously we're big supporters of the project, and I know that she wants to get to a point where she can help other individuals that are going through that. She's not there yet, but the first time you and I really reached out to you was, hey, I'd like to talk about maybe what's going on with the dads, right? And you happen to be working on something like that. So I'm just curious, as far as the dad's side's going. I mean, for me, I'm a guy who likes to help and impact other people's lives. And what do you feel about that strategy? I mean, like, how do you feel about that? Where's your heart with making sure the dads are involved too?
It's actually a personal question for me because it actually mimics my journey. So I think, as I mentioned before, when Finley died, 2 weeks later, I came home to a house that was completely empty. And my husband had chosen to literally pack up his things and just bail. And so for years, people said, "What do you do for dads?" And I would say what we do does benefit the dad. The
Oh, for sure.
cleaning,
Yeah.
the mom is cared for, you get the meals and the things and counseling you can even go to. But I I wasn't ready to help dads personally.
Yeah.
And then it came over a course of time where I didn't know how. I didn't know how to help them. And then as we've grown, we've seen more and more interest of like, "Hey, we just wanna talk. We wanna get together. We wanna go shoot pool. We wanna go have some drinks." Like, we just started seeing that guys are um, open to, something. And so that's where we've started. I mean, we've started something for the dads now.
Yeah. For on my journey, it was I was I really couldn't talk to anybody besides my wife. Like for a few weeks, we didn't even wouldn't let anybody come over. Like it was right in the middle of COVID. You know what I mean? It was right in the middle of COVID, July 2020. So like nobody got to come to the hospital. Like it was just like this just really weird time. And I remember feeling so alone. Like I had my wife, but I didn't have anybody else. Like people would want to talk, but I'm like, I can't, we can't relate. Like I can't talk to you about that. Like, I mean, like you don't understand. Like, no matter what you say. And then people say the craziest things. Noel, oh, I remember when I lost my dog. Okay, well, that's not the same thing. Like, I
No.
mean, like I'm not sure where you came up with that being okay, but like that's not, and so I remember that. And I remember feeling that sense of being alone as far as being able to talk to somebody on another man dealing with the same type of situation. So, but I understand why it took a while because I mean, your situation is, gosh, I mean, just super challenging. The fact that you had just the courage to put it in place at all is amazing. And that talks about, I mean, that's just a representation of how God is in you right now, helping you to get that done. I mean,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's really beautiful, like, it's like that butterfly, like that caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Like, I was a caterpillar when I started this, and I was very sequestered, and I knew what I knew, and I knew who I wanted to help, and I was figuring out how to help just these people. And then, over time, as I started to grow and I started to morph and God started to change me, I started to go like, "Wait, we can do this." And there are people that wanna help. And so I felt like God was opening my heart and my wings to being vulnerable and open to helping the guys. So it's been a really cool transformation for me personally.
unfortunately, we've had other infant loss in our family. We lost our nephew, Connor. He was, I guess he was been considered a toddler. He was a little over 3 when we lost him. And I just remember speaking at the funeral and making sure that people understand that what you do for the family doesn't stop today.
Mm-mm.
Today's not the day. Like I appreciate everybody that came out, but 2 months from now, you need to make sure you're reaching out to people, make sure they're okay. Like everybody, I think everybody thinks that, oh well, we showed our respects and that's kind of over. Child and infant loss is different, man. Like I feel it every day. Like I mean, I talk to CJ all the time. Like I have conversations with him all the time, and Nikki does as well. And I've only shared this story with one other person on another show, but so we have Leo now, who's 4 months old, and who's just like incredible. Like he looks just like CJ. Like I mean,
Mm.
is like a twin to him. So that was tough at first,
Mhm.
but the morning we're supposed to go to the hospital and deliver the next day, Nikki had some health complications. We had to call an ambulance, and so the ambulance picked her up to take her to Winnie Palmer downtown. And I'm driving from Lake Mary, like it's 8:30 in the morning, I-4 traffic, right? And all I can think of is not again,
Mm.
not
Mm.
again. Like, and am I going to lose both of them this time?
Mm,
And I think that goes back to the PTSD that we suffer from that. And I was diagnosed with that about 5 months after
mm,
we lost CJ, and Nikki's was diagnosed as well. I mean, look, I want people to understand that, like, we were in the room. I
mm,
was in the room as
mhm,
they tried to revive my son 5 or 6 different times, right? Like, there's not like there like that will never. I don't care all the meditation and books and prayer, like it's never going away.
mm,
And when I closed my eyes for 6 or 7 months, every time I closed my eyes, I saw it.
mhm.
When those things come about in my head again, man, I have some tough days.
Yeah.
I have some tough days. I'm just curious. It's been, I mean, how do you feel? Like,
No, Chris, I actually was about I'm totally feeling what you're saying. Like, the other night, it's been 11 years. The other night, something happened with my new husband, and it just this thing started going, and I was laying in the bed, and I just closed my eyes, same thing, and I remember the day that she we took her off life support, and you see it. You see it, you visualize it, you are back in that moment, and I mean, we're talking hysterically crying after 11 years, and explaining to him, since, he's my new husband, explaining to him, like, this is never going away. Like, I may not do this every week, but, this could happen 5 years from now. This could happen, I mean, I don't know, but all I know is that what I saw has changed me. My lens is different. How I see the world is different. What I saw, no person can see somebody, especially a child, die in front of them and be the same. I don't care who you are. And so I am 100. There's days it affects me deeply, very, very deeply.
yeah, I have a different relationship with, I don't know a better way to say it, with death, and I think most people do. Like, I lost a really good. My best friend's dad passed away Sunday, and he was like my second dad, like my mentor, like my guy.
Yeah.
Like I can go back and I'm talking about. I've been best friends with Jason's for over 40 years. Okay, like this guy was in my life that whole time, and
Mhm.
I can see things in my life that I did and accomplished because I learned them from him. Right, like there was just, and you get older, you start peeling those layers back. Okay, well now we're gonna have a funeral to go to.
Mm.
I'm gonna go because I love him so much. But the number of acquaintances and friends and stuff that have passed since then, and I haven't gone to the funeral because every time it just brings back the memories. Like I just, man, I mean, and it's it's crazy to not even crazy. It's just so surreal to think about missing someone that you barely knew, right? Like CJ was alive for 18 hours. And Nikki and I mean, Nikki, she breaks down not every day, but from time to time about, hey, I just miss CJ so much. Like, how would he be right now if he was here playing with Leo? Right. Like, I mean, like that's just, that we're going through. So, but how much worse would it be if the Finley Project hadn't been involved in it? Right. And that's what I want to get the point across. Is like, yeah, you're gonna have these feelings, and this is never gonna go away. But what kind of support did you get along the journey and along the way? And I think that's where it's so pivotal where you guys come in. So can you talk in detail about what type of support you offer when these things happen?
Yeah, I think for me, what I needed, Chris, was literally somebody that has gone through it to say, "You're gonna make it." I literally needed to know I'm gonna make it because I didn't think I was gonna make it. I mean, I was suicidal. It was really bad, and so what I was determined to do was to create an environment where another lady, another mom could say to another mom, "Hey, you're gonna make it. I made it. If I can make it, you can." And so that was just the underlying premise. And then what we realized was there's people that just need some basic love and TLC and some attention and just some nurturing initially, and then eventually more intensive support. And so that's how the Finley Project is shaped. It's helping with planning the funeral, because who knows how to plan a child's funeral? Nobody. You don't plan a child's funeral. You plan an adult's, but you don't plan a child's funeral. House cleaning. A lot of times, women or men, nobody wants to do anything. The last thing you care about is your house. you know? And so house cleaning, just basic things, food, meals. Some people don't have a church community. They don't have community. They don't have meal trains. They don't have family. So meals is one of the things we provide. We find a support group for them in their area. So getting them around other people, getting them in like a community circle that they are familiar with. Um, we connect them with another mom, that person that can say, "Hey, I made it, you can too." And then the last part is getting them into counseling
Yeah.
and getting those tools and like equipping them. And then a lot of the moms just stay in counseling for quite some time.
Yeah, we were in counseling. I don't even know, probably a year. We were in counseling, and then we stopped for a while, and then we felt like we needed to go back, and we went back for a little bit, and it was uh, it was something that we really needed. We needed that extra support. Like all the love in the world you get from your family members during this time isn't that's not it's not the same thing, right? We need someone, and our counselor had been through it. He had
Mhm.
lost a child at a young age, right? So that's we had that connection. So I think that was important that for that part. Look, I agree with the food. And like we were fortunate enough that my company, everybody in the company pitched in. We had so much food. I mean, I probably I don't know how much weight I gained during that time period, but it was not pretty. And it just kept coming, right? Like every day there was just trays of food coming, right? And I understand the suicide thoughts of suicide. I didn't want to wake up somewhere else. Like I was just like, okay, well, if I go now, then I get to see CJ sooner,
Mhm.
right? That's my been my thought. Like, man, I get to see him sooner, right? And it was a. I'm just thinking about it right now. All the time we spent because it was during COVID, you couldn't go anywhere, do anything.
Uh,
And we were like, no one could come over most of the time. It was just we sat in our bed and we watched TV, mindless TV for you know. I took off like a month from work, and Nikki took off like 4 months
mhm.
before we went back. So once the Finley Project started up and going, like what have you done to expand it, and like how many hospitals? Do you know the number of hospitals you're in nationwide?
Yeah, well, we're in over almost 40 states,
Okay,
and so we structured in such a way that we can be scalable, and we're in over 100 different hospitals, and that includes, some of the larger hospital systems in Florida. So, we're in almost 40 states helping moms.
okay. So is that? I mean, are you? I mean, obviously that many states, I mean, hospitals. You're probably getting calls every day.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the thing that we're really laser focused on right now is how do we build, right? Like how do we build from the ground up in a really succinct way for us as an organization? And we're employing some different tools and things so that we can grow and meet the need. If we got funding, tomorrow for $10 million, we need to be ready. We need to have those tools in place. And so that's what we're actively working on.
Yeah. Okay. Like, what can our listeners do to help with that? I mean, like, what kind of tools are you looking for? What I mean, what we've got some. I have a pretty good number of people that listen that are very charitable for sure. They're very big into philanthropy.
That would be awesome. Yeah. So for us, our staff, our team that works with the moms, those are the folks that we need to be able to hire so that we can help more moms. We need program managers that we can train and start to utilize, and so that they can work with the moms and book the appointments and things like that. So donations towards, I mean, truthfully, it's towards a salary to hire some people. We need the help. We need the team. But we also need the funding to match that.
Yeah, I get it. So, what's the best way for people if they want to donate or want to reach out and be part of the program?
Yeah, so our website is pretty robust. There's multiple videos on there. You can hear about some stories from our moms. You'll hear some other things that I've shared, but there's a way to donate on the website as well. Or if you're interested in supporting a mom, like if you yourself have gone through a loss, or if you're a dad and you're interested in supporting a dad, we have a volunteer form you can complete, and you can send that in, and then we'll connect with you and have you start helping.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, to be able to help other people. It's almost selfish sometimes because I get a lot out of it. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, like that's um when I go speak, and like there's a group of foster kids I go speak to from time to time, and I get more out of that than going on stage and speaking in front of 150, 200 people, business people, right? Like I just I get more out of that because I know that I'm impacting them. And that kind word and kind voice on the other phone, on the other line is someone who's been through what you've been through, can just change everything, right? I mean,
Oh,
just it really can.
yeah.
Um, so, what's the big vision for the Finley Project? Like, what I mean, do you have this big, robust goal that you're trying to accomplish?
I mean, we want to be in every state in the US. We are also launching a retreat community. We'll be one of the only retreat communities in the like the East Coast, Florida, for moms, for grandparents, and dads. And so it's going to be an experiential retreat where people can live again. So that's the title of the retreat community. It's going to be living again. How do we live again after loss? How do we dream again after loss? And then we're going to be supporting dads alongside the moms that we're supporting, and so in that way, we're unique because there's really not much out there that does that. So we want to expand and get in all 50 states. We want to really build up our retreat community and then obviously build up our dad community.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being part of that. Like, I mean, I just know that I can't. That'd be great. I mean, just to be involved in that and help other dads and gosh, I'd love to come to the retreat stuff and share my stories and how we've overcome that and how we've had another baby and there is a brighter future ahead. There
Yeah.
really is, right? I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow,
Right.
but it is.
Yep.
So, what would you tell somebody that's faced and lost right now? I mean, like if something happens today, what would you tell them to do?
I think it's show yourself some grace. Be gentle on yourself. And find somebody you can be brutally honest with so that your emotions and your feelings can be escaped. They can escape your mind and your body so that you can hear yourself talk and then you can hear them give you some encouragement. And so I just say find somebody you can truly talk to and you can lean on. And then you just know that like based on what you've heard of my story and what I've been through, if I can make it, you can too.
I love that. I did the one thing that too was really tough. I believe in. I'm sure a lot of people face this that go through this type of loss. Is there was a lot of guilt. Like, what could we have done better? Like, is there
Mhm,
anything we could have done? Was it our fault of what
mhm,
happened? You know what I mean? And then you're just like, it's so consuming, right? Like it just consumes you. And there's no love like a child. Like I don't care what anybody says. Like there's no love like that on the planet. Like you've been loved. Like and when you face that and you feel like maybe you had something to do with it when we didn't, there was nothing we could have done, right? But man, you just feel responsible. That was probably one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. Is like, how do we get past that point? You
mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
I had a mentor tell me, and they said, "You if you have to repeat this over to yourself, you might have to over and over." And I did, because I lived with the guilt. Because Finley died because of medical malpractice, and I felt like there was a lot of things that I could have done differently, or picked a different hospital, or picked a different doctor. And they said, "Noelle, at that time, you did everything you knew to do.
yeah,
At that time, you did everything you knew to do." And I was like, "Wow, it's true." At that time, I was making the best decision. At that time, I picked the best doctor, or so I thought. At that time, I picked the best, hospital. And so I had to repeat that to myself over and over.
yeah. I was with John Maxwell yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee, and he was talking about there's always clarity looking back.
Mhm,
There's always clarity looking back, right?
mhm,
Like we always look at what should have been and how it could have been, and that we have no control over that.
mhm,
And to move forward, we need to focus more on the things in front of us and less than the things that are behind us.
mhm,
So anybody that is in this spot and had infant loss, sure, we can always look back and look at all the things that maybe could have, should have, would have happened. But now we have in front of us, I feel, a responsibility to help the next person that this is going to happen to.
mhm,
And we have a responsibility to help people where we were 5 and 10 years ago.
mhm,
And that's the difference in the society. Like the more people we help like that, the more we're going to be interlinked. Like the debt infant loss knows no political side. It
mm-mm,
knows no race. It knows no religion.
mm-mm,
Okay. Like I know people from everywhere that has been through this. The support groups that we've been on, like it's just a challenging group. And that's the first thing Gary, our therapist, said to us is, hey, you're part of a club that nobody ever wants to be in.
Mhm.
but
Yep.
we have to figure out a way to make sure that we help others in the club. So,
Mhm.
okay. Well, Noelle, I appreciate being on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners before we hop off here today?
No, I just appreciate you bringing light to this topic, and not just in a way of telling a story, but just sharing the reality of it, right? Because there's not a lot of opportunity for that. Even the really hard stuff, the suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, Chris, because that it's the truth. And I hear it with the families we serve. So thank you for giving us the space to talk today.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode. And we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.